So the poor, the poor Festival of Brexit, or Unboxed, to give it its proper term, but will always go down in history as the Festival of Brexit. Why? Well, because it was those ultra hardcore Brexiteers. They wanted a festival to celebrate Brexit. They thought that they deserved one, bizarrely enough. But why? Well, we've got to look back at history because, as I've said before, Britain and crazy libertarian economic experiments aren't unusual and have happened before in the UK. Indeed, the last time we did one was back in the Victorian age. And of course, one big key, shall we say, event that led us to doing that was, of course, the grand exhibition in the infamous Crystal Palace. And that was used to justify Britain essentially just dropping all trade tariffs to zero. Of course, this grand experiment only lasted about 6 years and had, well, some very disastrous consequences, namely, in one place for Ireland, in of course, resulting on well, not causing the sort of potato famine, but having a big knock-on effect of the sort of potato famine, as well as sort of a couple of other things that also happened, but we don't have time to go into those. Like I say, if you want to look that up, there are some very interesting history economics videos out there on that subject. But of course, today we look at the ever more failing Festival of Brexit, because this video and maybe the one after, which will probably be looking at what the watchdog uncovered, has announced today that yes, the select committee has called in the watchdog to have a look at just what went wrong with the Festival of Brexit and its, quote, inexcusable spending of public money. So let's have a look into this then and just see how much more worse the Festival of Brexit really can be. So before we go diving into this, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do hit the like and share button. And of course, there is the YouTube thank you button and the YouTube subscription button as well, where you can join the Pony Club and you get bells, whistles, and whatnots as well when you join and sign up to that. And that does help support the channel as well. So over to The Guardian we go with their title on this of Public Spending Watchdog to Investigate the Festival of Brexit. It was Jacob Rees-Mogg who christened it the Festival of Brexit, a moniker that might have well have cursed it from the beginning. Announced by Theresa May in the aftermath of Britain's referendum on EU membership, and supposedly inspired, as we said at the beginning, by the 1851 Great Exhibition and 1951's Festival of Britain, the then Prime Minister heralded a programme of events to be held this year to, quote, showcase what makes our country great today. But 4 years on, and after 2 rebrandings, the public spending watchdog is to investigate what has become known as Unboxed creativity in the UK, amid concern that the visitor numbers have been less than 1% of early targets. The National Audit Office will examine how the £120 million project was managed, and about 2,400 visitors were reported to have visited the events, in contrast to the early target of 66 million. I still can't believe they generally thought they would get that many. The Commons Digital Culture, Media and Select Sport Committee called for the investigation last month after previously finding the festival to be an irresponsible use of public money, citing its planning as a recipe for failure. That such an exorbitant amount of public cash had been spent on the so-called celebration of creativity that has barely failed to even register in the public consciousness raises serious red flags about the project has been managed from conception to delivery. The Conservative MP, Justin Knight, who is chairman of the cross-party committee. Martin Green, who was one of the masterminds behind the opening and closing ceremonies of the London 2012 Olympics and took on the role of handling what he had initially feared might be a quote jingoistic jamboree, has said that it was dogged by the nickname the Festival of Brexit after it attracted a fraction of the target number of visitors. He said, "Rule one of major events: don't politicize them." And unfortunately, a few chose to politicize it from the beginning, he told the Political Journal of the House back in August. On Monday, a spokesperson for the festival said that reported figures, particularly the 240,000 number, for visitors, had misrepresented the public engagement and reflected the attendance on only 8 of the 107 physical locations within the program. He said, Unboxed art, text signs, and commissions have all presented all over 100 towns and cities and villages, engaging, again, engaging, because who knows what that means, right? Millions of people in live and digital employed thousands of creators across the UK, the spokesperson added. The DCMS spokesperson said that the government did not agree with the select committee's view on the festival, adding that it helped open access to arts and culture across the country. Again, it clearly hasn't, because no one knows it's been going on. Had claimed so far that more than 4 million people had, quote, again, engaged with the program so far, and we have to put engaged in massive quotation marks. But those involved in the Unboxed do feel confident that they have had a better story to tell to the NAO than the paltry figures actually attribute to the event, which is not in doubt that there has been through serious tough times. Some artists did run a mile from the project, including the Remain supporting comedian Josie Long, who pulled out of the 2020 who pulled out in 2020 after learning that the event was rebranding of what had earlier been ridiculed as a Festival of Brexit. At the same time, the very unimpressed Brexiteer Tory MPs complained that the B word was missing from the title, while officials at the Department for Digital Sports and Culture Media were also said to have fretted that the project had strayed so far from its original idea and had lost any sense of connection to Britishness. When it got underway, albeit into the headwinds of a society distracted by COVID, Ukraine, and the death of the Queen, and a new age of austerity, some artists involved did appear to have taken it upon themselves to use the funding to try and subvert the original idea. What followed after 10 projects were selected from nearly 300 submitted of the ideas was that the Great had described a, quote, once in a lifetime extravaganza that draws on arts, science, engineering, and technological maths. The last scheduled event is on the 6th of November, and this involves one of the festival's most successful projects called Our Place in Space, a touring scale model of the solar system that combines the 5 miles of sculpted trails with an interactive augmented reality map. And having already been to Northern Ireland and Cambridge, is now to go to Liverpool. So that's how the Festival of Brexit will indeed end, with very, very much a whimper rather than with a bang, and then eventually going to a trip to the watchdog. And of course, when that happens and when they bring their findings, I'm sure we will report on that. But yeah, talk about a cursed festival. And you know they're in trouble where they're not even talking about visitor numbers. They have to go, oh, well, we engaged people. We engaged people. And that to me reeks, I think, of the desperation that they themselves know that this has been an absolute catastrophic failure right from the very beginning. And as was said there by, I think it was, what was it, Julian Smith? I think it was. Julian Knight, that's it. No, not Julian Knight. Martin Green, that's it. Rule one of major public events: don't politicize them. And of course, it'd been politicized right from the very start. You know, all the ultra Brexiteers were saying, yeah, this is a festival of Brexit, you know, woo, woo, woo. You know, get some of that, you know, patriotic fever going, because they were still riding high on that Brexit vibe. But even then, I think it just goes to show you just what a lack of interest, and that maybe even by then, that should have been a very early warning sign, is what we've been talking about recently, that the steam was indeed going out of the Brexit balloon. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Unboxed. Have you managed to visit one of these attractions? And what did you actually think to it if you did go to see one of these attractions? I'd actually be very interested to see what you thought. Like I say, let me know in the comments down below. And would have you gone to see any of these attractions? Like I say, a full sort of scale modeled universe does actually seem quite cool and interesting. Um, would have you gone to see it? I don't know myself, to be honest, but like I say, it does seem to me like it has been an absolute, complete, and colossal failure. And they've spent £120 million of public money on this. And I agree with the select committee. It just seems completely and utterly an irresponsible use of it. So, as always, remember to hit that like and share button on your way out. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and an annotation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And of course, the YouTube thank you button. And of course, the Pony Club is down below as well. You can join as well. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.